Vladimir Putin has put forward the clearest signal yet, that he is willing to compromise on Ukraine, but only on his own terms.
Военно-морского флота.
According to three sources familiar with Kremlin thinking, the Russian president is demanding that Ukraine cede the entire Donbas region, abandon its NATO ambitions, and guarantee that no Western troops will ever be stationed on its territory. The proposal was laid out during a high-stakes summit with US President Donald Trump in Anchorage, Alaska, on Friday, the first face-to-face meeting between the two leaders in more than 4 years. While both men emerged speaking hopefully of peace, they offered no specifics. Behind closed doors, however, Putin outlined a narrower set of conditions than his maximalist position of 2024, Reuters reported.
I agree with President Trump. He spoke about this today, that of course Ukraine's security must also be ensured. Of course we are ready to work on this. I would like to hope that the understanding we have reached will allow us to get closer to that goal and open the way to peace in Ukraine. We expect that Kyiv and European capitals will perceive all this in a constructive manner and will not create any obstacles, will not make attempts to disrupt the emerging progress through provocation or behind-the-scenes intrigues.
In June 2024, Moscow insisted that Kyiv surrender all 4 of the Ukrainian regions it partially controls: Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia. That was swiftly dismissed by Kyiv as tantamount to national capitulation. Now, sources say Putin has scaled back his demands. Ukraine must withdraw entirely from Donbas, the industrial heartland in the east, where Russia already controls nearly 88% of the territory. In exchange, Moscow would freeze its military lines in the southern regions of Zaporizhzhia and Kherson, where its forces hold about 73%. Russia, the sources added, is even prepared to hand back small slices of land it occupies in the Kharkiv, Sumy, and Dnipropetrovsk regions, in a gesture designed to underline a willingness to bargain. But the Kremlin is drawing red lines on 2 fundamental issues. NATO membership is off the table. Putin wants a legally binding pledge that Ukraine will never join the US-led alliance. No Western boots on Ukrainian soil. Russia refuses to countenance any foreign peacekeeping mission, even under the UN flag. Additionally, Moscow is pushing for limits on Ukraine's armed forces as part of any settlement. President Volodymyr Zelenskiy has repeatedly rejected surrendering internationally recognized territory. On Thursday, he stressed that Donbas serves as Ukraine's fortress line of defense. If we're talking about simply withdrawing from the east, we cannot do that, Zelensky told reporters. It is a matter of our country's survival.
As for my position on Donbas, it hasn't changed because it's based on the Ukrainian constitution. And until the constitution is changed, the view of the person who guarantees it can't be changed either. We talked about these issues today. Of course, they're really tricky. I would like to emphasize right away that any issues concerning the territorial integrity of our state cannot be discussed without regard for our state, our people, the will of the state.
NATO membership, enshrined in Ukraine's constitution, remains a strategic goal that Kyiv considers its best guarantee of long-term security. It is not up to Russia to decide, Zelensky has said. Trump, who has pledged to end the bloodbath in Ukraine, described the Anchorage talks as the best chance for peace since the war began in February 2022. He has announced plans to convene a Putin-Zelensky meeting, followed by a trilateral summit with the US president at the table.
And I don't think there's any issue that's overly complex. It's at a point now where people want to do things. I really do believe, I've known him for a long time. I've always had a great relationship with him. I think that President Putin wants to find an answer too. And we'll see. And in a certain period of time, not very far from now, a week or 2 weeks, we're going to know whether or not we're going to solve this, or is this horrible fighting going to continue? We'll do our best to get it ended.
According to Reuters, Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, was instrumental in setting up the Alaska summit, having met Putin in Moscow earlier this month to hear his terms directly. Despite Putin's apparent concessions, Western capitals remain deeply skeptical. Leaders in Britain, France, and Germany question whether the Russian president truly seeks peace, or whether his proposals are designed to play to Trump's narrative of peacemaking.
I can't imagine that the next meeting would take place without a ceasefire. So let's work on that, and let's try to put pressure on Russia.
Everybody around this table is in favor of peace. And we work very hard, and we've worked very hard during the past few years to have a peace which is a robust and long-standing peace. This is why the idea of a trilateral meeting is very important, because this is the only way to fix it.
Rand Corporation analyst Samuel Charap told Reuters that Ukraine ceding Donbas was a non-starter politically and strategically. Openness to peace on terms categorically unacceptable to the other side could be more of a performance for Trump than a sign of a true willingness to compromise, he said. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, meanwhile, suggested Putin was ready to meet Zelensky, but raised doubts over the Ukrainian leader's legitimacy since his presidential term expired in May 2024 and elections were postponed because of the war.
Our president has repeatedly said that he is ready to meet, including with Mr. Zelensky, with the understanding that all issues that require consideration at the highest level will be well worked out, and experts and ministers will prepare the appropriate recommendations. And of course, with the understanding that when, and if the matter, I hope when, comes to signing future agreements, an issue of the legitimacy of the person who will sign these agreements with the Ukrainian side will be resolved.
3 years into a grinding conflict that has killed and wounded hundreds of thousands, Russia controls roughly 1/5 of Ukraine, an area about the size of Ohio. Sources told Reuters the Alaska summit represented the most serious attempt yet at outlining the terms of an endgame.